Hello everybody, welcome to the session about study in Holland. We have 3 people at the moment here in our office in Mexico City and 14 people online. Welcome. During the presentation, the people who are online can type their questions, but it is very possible that I won't see it immediately. But at the end of the session, I will look at the questions that you've typed. And if I did not answer those questions yet, I will do that at that very moment. Okay. Innov Education, study in Holland. Many have gone before you and you can do it too. For me, this is an important statement because I have been living now for 3.5 years here in Mexico, talking to many students, and I have noticed that sometimes a Mexican will think I can't do it, or it is difficult, or I won't get the scholarship, and the possibilities are often higher than people think over here. So let's say as Europeans, we very often think we can do everything, and we can't. And sometimes here it's a little bit the other way around. You can do a lot. And if you look at study in Holland, the last figure I know is that 550 Mexicans go and study in Holland, and 250 of those are exchange students. So very often they are from either UNAM, who have an agreement with Groningen, or Tec de Monterrey, who have an agreement with Twente as well. And that leaves 300 normal students, as we call them now, for licenciatura or master degrees. So 300 a year. It is a relatively small market if you look at the fact that to Australia or Canada or United States, more people are going. But Holland is a relatively cheaper option. And I will show you in the presentation as well that the quality you get for what it costs is very high, very good. So first I'm going to try, this is always a little bit of a challenge, the video, but let's see if I get it to work well. There's no sound. Well, since there is no sound, you can't hear it, no? But you can still see the subtitles. Over here it's still moving. And over there it's not. Okay. I'm aware that you don't see. Ready to share. Okay, very good. Then This gave you a little bit of an overview. Normally, internet has not been very good today. The main thing I would say from the video that you can learn is that although Holland is a small country, the quality of education is very high. Over 95% of the Dutch speak English, so we are the non-English speaking country with the highest number of English speakers. So that also means that when you are going around in the countries that you can communicate with people. For instance, in Germany, when you go and study in Germany, one of the things is that you have to normally also know a little bit of German. In Holland, that's not the case. With just English, it's enough. And in Germany and France, many people do not speak English. So then it is also more difficult to communicate. These are a few pictures about Holland. The first picture, just to give a little bit why I show you these pictures. The first one is a bike. In Holland, you have more bikes than people. We have 17 million people, so it's not a high number, but it's a very small country as well. So a big part of the country is, let's say, very crowded, no? Because there's a lot of people. So if you look at the cities, hello, welcome. If you look at the cities, you will see that it is fastest and most comfortable to go on bike. And in the end, I would say...
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt, but there is nothing in the screen. I can't see anything, and nor some of the other people online. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you. It's good that I hear you. Let me see. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfectly. I can see everything now. Thank you very much.
Great. And you did hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so the first one is the number of bikes. You will see that many cities, inside the city, there's not a lot of cars. If you look at Groningen, which is one of the main universities that we are working with, the inner city is just almost car-free. So also makes it a very green city. Then the second picture is an airplane. Amsterdam Schiphol is one of the main airports in Europe. So from Amsterdam as well, you can fly very cheap to other places. Third picture is canal. You will know that Holland is Países Bajos, so we are a big part of the country is below sea level. We've always been fighting water, but we've always used water as well, which is one of the reasons why we crossed also many oceans with boats. Then the tulips, very important factor of Holland. We have, you see a picture of nightlife. Also good to realize that the nightlife in Holland is very nice. And what might surprise you that if you have a city in Holland with 150,000 or 200,000 people, everything is there. So many people from Latin America have told me, well, there's only 150,000 people, no? So there's not a lot going on. That's very different in Holland. If you have a city like that, it's completely adult. Everything is there. There's as much going on as in a city over here with over 1 million people. And then the last picture is the windmills, which is a little bit of an indication how we've always been fighting the water, because the mills originally were used to pump the water up to higher levels. I don't know if you were aware, but you have all these levels then, and to pump the water out and to have dry feet. No? That was the main thing. But next to your academic life, it is very nice to also enjoy Dutch life and culture. Great location. So I just showed you as well the airport. As you can see, we're right in the middle of Europe, and you can fly very cheap. You have, for instance, an airline called Ryanair, and literally for 20 to 30 euros, you can get a return ticket to another place in Europe. Always important to look at dates as well, of course, but normally you can be flexible. Hello, welcome. Officially, we are called the Netherlands. For people to be aware is that the government is trying to change the name of Holland to the Netherlands. So we are called Holland actually because the two provinces in the west are called Holland. This is where the ships in the past left from, and this is also why all these people, when they arrived somewhere and they asked, where are you from? In Mexico, they could have said, I'm from Veracruz. And the Dutch said, well, I'm from Holland, although they were really just from those provinces, but they were very important at the time. The real name is the Netherlands, and you will see more and more that the name the Netherlands will be popping up more and more, and Holland a little bit less. However, so when you are in Europe and you are in Holland, very important to also explore a little bit more. One thing that I know here in Mexico, you see a little bit less is the train. So in Europe, the train is really fantastic to go from one place to another, from Amsterdam to Berlin or to Paris. Those are very fast, comfortable trains and also cheaper than flying. It is a very good alternative. Scholarships and loans. This is always a very important subject, of course. So there are different kinds of things to look at. The first one is Mexican loans. We have FIDER from Banco de Mexico. They in general fund if you go and study, they are willing to fund if you go and study in a top 200 university. However, certain universities have convenios with FIDER. And the same is for FUNET, but that's not from Banco de Mexico, but that's a private organization. We have an agreement with Groningen. They are talking at the moment to Amsterdam, and I think very soon we will have all our universities in with FUNET. Then scholarships in Mexico, we have CONACYT and CONACYT FUNET. These are two very important ones. There are more, but these are the main ones. What is important to realize about CONACYT, and I'm going to be very honest about this, is that with CONACYT in the past years, it has been very difficult because of the timeline, simply because of the timeline. Last year, CONACYT published on the 2nd of August. So that meant that people applied in April. Deadline was end of May. And then CONACYT let the students know if they got the scholarship, yes or no, on the 2nd of August. Then CONACYT also took another 10 days to give people the letters to say that you really get the scholarship. First, you can just see it online, and then it takes them another 10 days to get the letter. So 2 plus 10 is 12th of August. So you can imagine that is very late. So for people who apply to our UK universities, we were able still to get them in, but for the Dutch universities, it's simply too late. In general, in Holland, and this is one of the things I'm going to tell you more today, in general, in Holland, it's very important that you are on time, that you stick to the rules, and that if they say this is a deadline, then the deadline is there. So normally the deadlines for the Dutch universities are the 1st of April, 1st of May, and then they start the visa process, normally the 1st of June, with sometimes an extension until 1 month later. So that means that by then you have to also prove your funding, and that made it very difficult for CONACYT students to get to a Dutch university. There were two possibilities. Either you have another way to prove your funds, so you prove to the university that the funds are there to get your visa, and then later you get CONACYT anyway. That's a possibility. The second possibility is to get a CONACYT scholarship and then postpone your study 6 months, and go 6 months later and ask the university to postpone the offer that they made. Those were the two possibilities. However, there is a little bit of light in this tunnel, in the CONACYT tunnel, because the lady who's working there, her name is Marcela Cruz, and it seems that she has been improving things a lot in CONACYT in the past 1.5 years, and she has sort of promised that it will be earlier this year. So that means that all deadlines will be earlier, but that we will be able to start to apply maybe in January, February already. That would really help to get people into other universities as well. So there's light, but there's no confirmation yet. Then the last category are the Dutch scholarships. There's two kinds, from the Dutch government and also from the universities. So together with the Dutch government, there is the Orange Tulip Scholarship. Different per university how it works. Sometimes it's tuition fee, sometimes it's even a full scholarship. Then we have the Holland Scholarship. This is a one-off of 5,000 euros. Very often combined with, if the Orange Tulip Scholarship is only for the tuition fee, then you can apply for the Holland Scholarship as well for the extra money for living costs. And then there's the university scholarships. This is something that I'm going to be honest about as well, is that I think in the end, the university scholarships are the most important ones. So the Orange Tulip is marketed very big, which is good that they do that. But very often, most universities have two available. It is good that it is for Mexicans. I will go into this scholarship later. That is good, but two per universities is not that much. And if you look at the generic university scholarships, which are for the whole world, of course, but they have lots more available. And then faculties are able also to do something. So I think in the end, those are the more important ones. Okay, the first one that is marketed in a big way is the Orange Tulip Scholarship. The nice thing about it, that it's exclusively for Mexicans. So you don't compete with people from other countries. They are offered directly by the Dutch universities. Normally you apply, however, with Nuffic Neso over here in Mexico, which is the office that is in charge of these scholarships. They are either offered at a discount on tuition fee or living costs, and then there's different deadlines. Sometimes there's even 2 deadlines. 1st of February is the first deadline, and that is honestly the deadline that I'm telling everybody, because that's the first one we will encounter. Then there's also the 1st of March in Radboud Nijmegen and the Groningen School of Medicine, and 1st of April from the Faculty of Arts, and then the 1st of May is Twente. That is the one that is allowing people to apply for this until later in the process. The Holland Scholarship, funding from the Dutch government in cooperation with the institutions, only for non-European students. Important that I mention this because I have quite some people from Mexico with European passports that are applying for the lower fee. The Holland Scholarship is not for them. Then interesting is that it's both for bachelor's and master programs. It consists of a one-off contribution of 5,000 euros. And you apply through the university where you want to study. The deadlines are the 1st of February and the 1st of May. I always advise all students to try to go for the first one. What happens a lot is that if they have people applying for the one for the 1st of February and they have a few left, is that those that are left are then moved on to the next batch as well. So that means there are still some good ones already applying for the next batch. I always like it best to be among the first. The good thing as well about applying early and trying to get a Dutch scholarship for the 1st of February is that most Mexican scholarships come after. So they very much open in March and in April. So if you apply early for this one and you know if you're going to get it or not, then you know if you have a gap, what is the gap and what are the possibilities within Mexico that we can look for. General information about study in Holland. From a quality perspective, the Netherlands require high entry. It's not that easy to get in, and be aware of cultural differences. The best example that I always give is the birthday party. If I invite people to my birthday party here in Mexico and I invite 20 people, then normally 20 people will say, yes, that's very nice, and I'm going to see you at your birthday party. And then it is very well possible that at the date itself, they're not coming, or just a few show up, no? So there's no problem over here. No? That happens and there's no problem. If you do that in Holland, that is a problem. Because in Holland, it is really for everybody, privately as well. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. So if I invite somebody for a birthday party and they don't show up, I am offended and I'll never invite them again. So that it is important to understand this difference, that you cannot say yes when you're not sure. When you're not sure, you have to say you're not sure. And over here it is always a little bit more evasive and not offending everybody. And in Holland you can simply offend people. They are sort of used to hearing that you're not coming. It's no problem. Deadline is a deadline for application and scholarship. This is very important, but also for accommodation. So what I have seen last year is that I had people who were not 100% certain of certain things by the time the accommodation was offered. You have to say yes to the accommodation to get a place. If, especially at certain universities, you don't say yes, the main ones are Amsterdam and Groningen, those cities are it's very difficult to find a room. So if you don't say yes to the university, you might end up with a place and not a place to stay, and you have a relatively big problem. But also for the other ones, Twente and Radboud, they actually have a campus. They offer you from their own accommodation a place, and then it's also very important to say yes. They guarantee for international students that they get a place, but of course you have to say yes. The most common deadline is the 1st of May for all Mexican students that need a visa. In Groningen it's the 1st of April because of the accommodation. You have to accept the offer for accommodation to be sure of a roof over your head. Then important to realize is that in the Dutch system you apply through StudyLink. So StudyLink is the portal from the Dutch government, and within that portal you can apply to a maximum of 4 options. That can be 2 from the same university and 2 different universities, but the main thing is it's a maximum of 4. Within StudyLink there's a few Dutch words there. This is also why I am helping mostly students to create that account. There's some personal data in there, of course where you were born, your data from your passport and also from your previous education. And then within StudyLink, you can make a selection of 4 choices, and then the universities are informed and the universities start contacting you directly. So how it normally works is that first I help you looking at all your documents, make sure that everything is perfectly in order. Then the next step is the creation of the StudyLink account. And then within StudyLink account, your courses are selected, and then you will be in direct contact with the universities. But I am still always there to help you along the way. So just to be clear about my role, I really help you on the way, make sure your documents are okay, make sure that everything in StudyLink is okay, like I said, because there's some Dutch terms in there. Just another example that I always think is funny, in StudyLink, it says HBO. And HBO is not the American television channel. It stands for Hoger Beroepsonderwijs, which means University of Applied Sciences if you translate it. Well, of course, as a Mexican, you will not know. And the one that most people who apply for a master's need is called WO, which is Wetenschappelijk Onderwijs, and that means university, a research university. So these little things are, of course, important. Then, of course, that the right data is in there, because otherwise someone could get rejected for not having the right data in StudyLink. Undergraduate courses, 3 years in length. If you have gone to a normal prepa over here in Mexico, you need a foundation year to get you ready for those 3 years in university. If there is anybody listening in for licenciatura, then if we have not been in contact yet, I can let you know exactly if you need this foundation, yes or no. Normally direct entry, especially with Groningen and Radboud, is via an IB. So you need to have done an IB over here in Mexico. And if you did not do an IB, but a normal one, you need a foundation year. And then it's even possible that some universities don't even have that at all. So then simply, if you don't have the IB, you cannot apply. It's very important to realize that. Tuition fees typically are paid upfront. Amsterdam is an exception to the rule. Most courses start in September. Some universities have programs in January, February. If you look at the universities that we have, it's only Amsterdam that does not have January, all the others do. You can work up to 16 hours a week during your studies. Universities recommend no more than 10 to 12, and most of them will actually recommend not to work at all. What I think is very important to let you know is that if you want to work, please don't do it in the first month and maybe even the first months, because you're really going to need time to adapt to a different system of education, to simply living in a different country. And if you are okay and everything is under control after 1 or 2 months, then you can start looking for work as well. No? But first, just focus on your studies and see how you are coping. In summer, you can actually, when there's no university, you can actually work full-time. Most Mexicans, of course, go back home in summer, but it is possible to do that. Important to realize is that for many jobs, speaking Dutch is essential. So at universities, that is no problem. But you can imagine that if anybody goes to the supermarket, that they like to be talked to in Dutch. No? So then it is really, let's say, the more international places where it is easier to find a job if you only speak English. Amsterdam, Rotterdam, really in the West, there will be international places to find a job. And of course, on campus, if you look at the university themselves, because there everybody speaks English. To secure your visa, you need the tuition fee and living expenses for the first year. You need to show yet that you have them. That can also be via proof of funding. So for instance, if you get a scholarship, we'll give you a letter saying that you have the scholarship, and that letter also is used as a proof of funding. Living expenses are set, at least for the last year, to 870 euros per month. The IND is the visa department of the Dutch government. They adapt this amount twice a year. At the moment, it is good to realize that you need about 10,500 euros to prove that you have for the first year of living, and then you need to add your tuition fee to that. And then, as said, you can deduct what you have proof of funding from. Can be scholarships, can be loans. In practice, the living cost may be higher, especially in Amsterdam. Amsterdam, very clear about that. It's a bit like Mexico City, you know what you see in many places, or London in the United Kingdom. It is just the cost of living are higher, and below it, you really need over 1,000 euros to be living comfortably in Amsterdam. And it's very important to realize this. To give you an example, Twente is one of our technical universities. There are 3 technical universities in Holland. Twente offers their students accommodation for 400 euros a month. If you go to Delft, which is completely on the other side and which is in the west, You are lucky if you get an accommodation for below 800, but very often it goes to 1,000 just for your accommodation. So it is very important to realize the places where you are, the combination with the cost of the university and also the cost of living, because especially in the West, things are more expensive. Applying for a visa costs 192 euros, an extension 161, and they decide within 2 months. Medical insurance is obligatory. Very often it will be the university also that offers this to you. It is between 80 and 100 euros a month normally, and it is something that you definitely need. So where in Holland can you study with the help of Innova Education? Amsterdam in the west, Groningen in the north, then in the east we have Enschede, Twente Technical University, and Radboud a little bit further to the south, Catholic University, and also a more generic one. There is one in the east as well nowadays, Rotterdam, but we only have the Rotterdam School of Management. If there's anybody interested in that, I can also give information on Rotterdam School of Management. Where can I study what? Just showing this table to give you a little bit of an idea, because it is important to realize, for instance, that in Amsterdam they are not, these are not engineers, that is more Twente. And when it comes to things like arts and more the social sciences, then Amsterdam is very strong. The more generic universities that are very strong and high ranked are Groningen and Radboud. Then I have another sheet like this with programs, and here you see engineering, that Radboud and Amsterdam are not so much for engineering, but the other two are, and the strongest one for engineering and the more technical programs is Twente. And when it comes to medicine, not in Twente, there's only a program technical medicine, but most that's very close to engineering. Most of the rest is really to the other cities. And then it is important to realize anything to do with medicine, because I have 3 people here with physiotherapy, is that they have very close ties with the university hospitals in all 3 cities. So Groningen, Amsterdam and Radboud in Nijmegen, those are the most famous university hospitals. And if you look at specific operations, then you see that those are the best hospitals that people do these operations. No? So for medicine, these cities are very interesting. Then I will talk a little bit about universities. Here's some background noise, so I'm going to do one thing. I start with Amsterdam. Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam is called the Free University of Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, originally you had 2 universities. One was more Catholic based and one was more Protestant. So Holland is really history-wise divided in 2 parts. The northern part is the Protestant part and the southern part is more the Catholic part, although nowadays religion is simply not that important anymore. Most Dutch people actually do not practice religion anymore. But originally this was the case, and this university was actually founded by a former prime minister, a Protestant prime minister, and it's called the Free University of Amsterdam because it was very much about social studies and free thoughts. That's what it was about. So that is where the name comes from. Founded in 1880, location in Amsterdam, which is of course one of the world's most multicultural cities. They have almost 30,000 students nowadays, over 10% is international. And if you look at the rankings, the highest one they have is the Shanghai, and they're number 104 in the world. However, the business department is very high ranked, number 46 for MBA, but in general the business is very high ranked, and they are also very strong in theology. So what I just told you about religion, this has led to many universities being very strong in theology, because they are still studying what happened in history between the Protestant and the Catholics and other religions, and what does it mean up till now. So many people who are interested in that area come to Holland. Freedom in responsibility, the 3 core values: responsible, open, personally engaged. And an important exception to realize about Amsterdam is that they only have September entry. Application process. This you will see with every university. I've written this down everywhere. First, with us, the application form, check your documents, then I create a study link account for you, and you apply directly with the university. Amsterdam, important to realize, 100 euros application fee. So just to make sure that you are aware, that's about 2,200 pesos, and you don't get that back. That is just for applying. Then the deadline is the 1st of April. It takes them 2 to 4 weeks to let you know if you are admitted or not. And the deadline for the secured English language test is the 1st of June 2019. Please realize that with all universities, the English test is something that you can send later. And the other thing that you can send later when you apply is your degree. Many people still are in school until May, and of course they should be able to start their studies in September. So these are the two documents that can be missing when you apply your English test with enough score and your degree certificate. Then apply for the accommodation and scholarship. Scholarship available, more important subject, the VU Fellowship Program. This is a very important one to realize. This is the Orange Tulip Scholarship. This is for master degrees and it concerns the tuition fee. So they have a few available of these and the deadline is the 1st of February. So you have this one for tuition fee. When you have applied to this specific scholarship, then you are also allowed to apply for the Holland Scholarship Program, which is the one-off of 5,000 euros. So then in the end, if you think that you would need 10.5 for living costs, then you are, let's say, 6,000–7,000 euros short, since you have to think that in Amsterdam, living costs are a little bit more expensive, but that would be the gap. And then you can look at here in Mexico as well to see if you can fill that gap. The third important one is the Orange Tulip Scholarship that also concerns tuition fee for the first year, and the deadline for that one is also the 1st of February. The University of Groningen in the north, one of the oldest one, founded in 1614, is a leading European research university, global outlook, created in Groningen, city of talent. A little bit bigger, 29,000 students and 12,000 are international. Groningen is the most international university that we have. They are very much research based, very famous in certain areas. And this means that they simply get applications from all over the world of people who want to study certain subjects in Groningen. So they have a relatively high number of international students. If you look at the ranking, number 66 in the world, according to Shanghai. So this is our highest ranked university that we have in our portfolio. And here you see two specific areas where they are very high ranked. 27 in the world for classic and ancient history, and 29 for psychology. They have an exchange program with UNAM. This is mainly for PhD. They have, let's say, they have a very close convenio with UNAM for PhD, but apart from that, they also have an exchange program. So when it comes to masters, I normally help people when there are people maybe online who are interested in doing a PhD. There is somebody working at the University of UNAM over here, Nidia Pantaleon, and she is specialized in this and helping PhD students to find their way to doing a PhD in Holland. Application process is more or less the same. Important to mention that the application fee here is 75 euros, but only for the science and engineering programs. And if you are able to get it back. Deadlines 1st of May. For the programs in February, it's officially the 15th of October, but they have sort of extended it because even though officially this is the deadline, I still today submitted an application for February, so they still allow them. They are a little bit slower. It takes them up to 6 weeks to reply. The deadline for the English certificate is the 1st of May. Scholarships that they have available are also from the university. They have a lot less. So Amsterdam has a little bit more, Groningen has less, but you can at least see online immediately which ones are available. For certain programs, there are simply no scholarships available. And when it comes to the Orange Tulip scholarships, there's two faculties who do that. The first one is the Faculty of Medicine, and the second one is the Faculty of Arts. However, for the persons here in the office who are in physiotherapy, unfortunately it doesn't count for you, because the Faculty of Medicine has decided that it's only for two specific programs. And they have to do with innovative medicine and drug innovation, stuff like that. And for other programs, they simply do not have it, so it's only the university scholarships that are available. Holland Scholarship is available within two calls. First call, the 1st of February. Second call, the deadline is the 1st of May. So This university does show the possibility, does have the possibility to start the 1st of February. However, if you look at the scholarships, you will see that almost everything is focused on September. And for February, there's not a lot. So if I look at people who start in February, that is mostly people who are self-funded or PhD students or people who go with a loan. If you look at scholarship, Connoseed, for instance, that doesn't have that possibility at all. But also these Dutch ones, they're all focused on September. University of Twente is a very modern and technical university founded in 1961. At the moment, they have almost 10,000 students. The number that here I have to change that, it's almost 10,000 at the moment. They're located in Enschede near the German border. A technical university, and this is just something that I mentioned, is simply the cheapest place to study in Holland. So if you look at where it is, the location, it is a cheap place to live. They offer cheap accommodation, and then also the tuition fees are relatively low. So if you add everything, then this is the cheapest option that we have. However, important to realize that they are very good in technical studies. So if you want to study psychology, there's only a possibility in combination with what does technique and let's say modern inventions have to do with psychology, and not normal psychology programs. They don't have that. Art don't have that at all. Then they are very strong present here in Mexico. They have exchange programs with both Tec de Monterrey and UNAM, both of them. Application process, application fee, here it still says it's not applicable. However, the Faculty of Electrical Engineering has decided to start an application fee, and now you do have to pay €100 only for that faculty. I expect more faculties there to follow, but at the moment the rest is still free. Deadline 1st of May, decision up to 8 weeks. And this is an important one to see. Deadline final certified photocopies 1st of September. I'm just showing this so people realize that even though you don't have your degree certificate, you can really already apply, and you can send the final documents over relatively late. Scholarships available. This university is also famous for having nice scholarships, especially the faculty ones. So many universities have, first they have central admission, who looks at documents that you've sent if everything is okay in general, and then your application is forwarded to the actual faculty, and there you normally have one specialist that looks at your motivation letter, very important for them, your reference letters, and what you did in the past. Very often they will look in the courses that you did, and that person is normally also the person that decides on scholarships. So you have to see that one faculty will be richer than the other. But let's say a generic faculty has €100,000 in scholarships to give, just an example, and then this person can simply choose if he gives many students a small scholarship or a low number of students a high scholarship. So normally these people choose to give as many students as they can a smaller one. So very often it is recommendable when those people look at your funding that there's already something there, because they rather give 20 scholarships of 5 than 5 scholarships of 20. So this is a little bit how they look at it. Also, good to realize is that in Holland very much people think that it is important that the student invests himself as well. So they in general, if they give scholarships, they like a lot to see that students already have a study loan, or there's some money there, so that they contribute themselves as well. I'm going to be very honest, is that I realize very much that the people in Holland do not always realize the situation in other countries. No? Because in Holland, everybody is the same, everybody can study, everybody has the same opportunities. In a country like Mexico, honestly, that is just not the case. No? There are really big differences here, and they don't always have that in mind. So I have to be honest about that. That is the case. So they do not always realize that it is simply not possible for a student to pay everything. So what I try to do is to look at other options as well. So in that way, if the student, for instance, has a loan or also works with FUNET, then at least when it comes to the university, we can say, we don't need a full scholarship, but we need a partial one. And that enhances the chances of getting anything. And that's a little bit how it works. So when you apply with Twente, you are in OSIRIS, and then is asked, what is your financial situation? If you tick there the box, I need a full scholarship, they are going to think that you don't have a peso, and that there's a very low chance of you getting in. A Mexican, however, thinks, yes, but I want a full scholarship, so I tick the box. There's a difference. So that's very important to realize. So when you apply in Twente and they ask about your financial situation, is that you tick the box, I'm looking for a partial one. And then hopefully they give you the tuition fees or at least something, no? It's important to realize that they look at it, how they look at it. Then they also have the Orange Tulip scholarships for masters only competing with Mexicans, 25,000 euros for 1 or 2 years. It's a great scholarship, but please be aware, there's only 1 or 2. So you compete with all Mexicans, that's good. There's nothing, it's not with other people from other countries, but there's only 1 or 2 per year available of these. Holland scholarship, again, deadline 1st of February and a 5,000 euro for living costs. The nice thing in Twente is that also people who go for a bachelor degree can try to get the Holland scholarship as well. That is not at every university. Radboud, founded in 1923, located in Nijmegen, a little bit further to the south. So this one is originally Catholic. And even though since I'm from Holland myself, I'm from the north, I can tell you that when you're in the cities, you can really feel it. The vibe in the northern city is simply little bit different than in the south. So in the south, it's a little bit more relaxed. And Radboud is a very good example of that. This is a little bit more of a southern vibe that you get in Nijmegen. What I always like to tell about Nijmegen is that it is the city where the Romans entered Holland. So in the old days in Holland, there was no civilization. The Romans were civilized and they entered into Holland and they found a lot of people in beer, cloth, etc. And they said, well, this is Nijmegen. This is as far as we go. Up further north, it's not interesting. There's a lot of water. There's people in beer cloth. This is it. So it's actually the oldest city because it was founded by the Romans in a very strategic point where 2 rivers come together. Groningen and Radboud in Nijmegen are always number 1 and 2 when it comes to student experience in the end in Holland. So very good universities and they offer a full package which is very nice. Radboud has 1 plus to Groningen and that is accommodation. Radboud offers accommodation and you are sure that in your first year you have a roof over your head, and in Groningen that is not the case. Number 123 in the world is one of the top 30 European research institutes. And here you see what I said, second most attractive. This year it was number 1 and Groningen was number 2, so they changed a little bit. Yes, important to realize that Radboud, same as Groningen, does not offer foundation for undergraduate students. So we either need an IB or do a first year in Mexico. Sometimes that is possible as well. Application process, application fee is 75 euros. And for business administration, MBA, it is 150. OSIRIS is their program. You have a deadline of, you have to finish it within 56 days. That's also not everywhere. The deadline is the 1st of April and they let you know within 4 weeks if you are it or not. Scholarships, the Radboud Scholarship Program. They have some nice scholarships available. They have about 30 per year, as you see here, so it's not bad, but it is for people from all over the world. That's a reduction of tuition fee to the EU rate. So the EU rate for European students will be next year 2,180 euros instead of between 12 and 15,000. You need to have been admitted and have accepted, deadline 1st of March. And then they also have the Orange Tulip scholarships. They have about 40 of those. So that is not bad. Reduction of tuition fee, the same here to EU rate. Then for people who are a little bit further in the process, since we invited people for 2020, what kind of documents do you need? So you need a passport, you need a curriculum vitae, and I have a document that I send to everybody always with the requirements per document. So this is just a short list. Then you need 2 letters of recommendation. The best is if it is academic staff. If you are already working, it is also possible that one of them is from somebody that you work with. But then still you still need one from a professor that you studied with before. Motivation letter, 1 to 2 page letter. Let me be clear that 1 page is better than 2 pages. People have to read it. The Dutch are a little bit cuadrado and not always that patient. In general, if it's a little bit over 1 page, it's fine. But if it is almost 2 pages, it's just that is too much. So it says 1 to 2, but 1 is definitely better than 2. Important to be specific in your letter. You mention, of course, the university. It has to be very different from the other university that you apply to, and be as specific as possible. Then you need your degree certificate and your transcript and your records. Those two documents need to be translated. So both your official degree and all the marks that you had, those two need to be translated by an official translator, and the rest, that is not necessary. Then this is especially for master degrees, a thesis or another example of academic writing. Then a description of relevant courses. This is an important one because it's not everybody's used to this. If you apply to a UK university, you don't need this. In general, you will see online the entry requirements of the universities. What happens a lot is that the universities are flexible. Radboud and Amsterdam are two universities who are great examples of being flexible. That means that even if somebody does not have 100% the background, they will look in maybe work experience, they will look in other areas to see if it is still possible to admit that person. To be able to see that, they look into what courses did you do and what was in those courses, and can we still admit this person. So in the end, it means that you need a document. Let me just, I think it is good to show it, even though it is not in my presentation, because it is important to realize that this is an important document, and it is costing some time if your university doesn't give it to you. So here you can simply see the name of the course, the hours that were put in, what was done, and then the literature that it was about. So if your university gives it to you, great, many do. UNAM, I have a medicine student this year who was applying, and she had to do it all herself because UNAM gave documents like this of 80 pages, and she just had to make extractions herself of this document, which she did, but it did cost her 3 nights, 3 evenings after study to get this document done. So it is important that to realize that you need this document, because like I said, it is just not something that you would normally need. Going back to my presentation, like this. There we were. And last but not least, your English language test. In Holland, almost everything is allowed, so it can be Cambridge, it can be IELTS, it can be TOEFL. The main difference between IELTS and TOEFL, which are the biggest ones over here, is that IELTS is the UK system and TOEFL is more the American, the United States system. The biggest difference between the two is that if you do a TOEFL exam, is that for your speaking test, you're talking to a computer because everything is internet-based. And for your IELTS test, you're actually talking to a person. So I always thought most people will like to talk to a computer. Not true. Many people, when they talk to a computer, they think it's strange, they get nervous, they don't do that well, and they interact better one-on-one with a person. So some people like IELTS better, some people like TOEFL better. For the Dutch universities, it doesn't matter. Just be aware that that is the only big difference. This is something that I got from people from IELTS. It's not academically, how to say, and theoretically correct in the way that we can take it as foolproof, but it gives you a little bit of an idea. So you have here the IELTS, and I think the main thing for the people here in the office, the main thing to realize is that most universities for masters are in this band, no? 6.5 till 7. So TOEFL paper-based, you need 550 to 580, and then most Dutch universities will ask around 90, 92 when it comes to the TOEFL IBT. And you need C1 in general, and then for undergraduates, B2 often is okay as well. So this is a little bit how these relate, because I have seen here in Mexico that people have many different backgrounds, no, when it comes to the English. Cambridge is more and more, we see more and more as well. Then study in Holland with Innova, a little bit about ourselves as well. But the 10 steps, determine English level via an exam. I put this as number 1. Why did I do that? Because last year I had a few students very disappointed because they realized early in the process that they did not need to give the English certificate. And then in the end, they were admitted based on the fact that they would give their English exam, and then they didn't make it because the English wasn't good enough. That's very disappointing. If last minute you find out that your English is not good enough, and everything is done and agreed upon, that is very disappointing. So I always say, make sure that your English exam, that your English level is good. Both TOEFL and IELTS, by the way, are valid for 2 years. No? So if you do it on time, they're valid for 2 years, and there's no problem. Then decide on courses and universities. This is something that I normally help with, sending students course options. The online application form, I start checking your documents, make sure everything is okay, make sure the translations are okay, your motivation letter is good, your CV, the reference letters are okay. Reference letters are very important as well to realize that a small detail can be of the essence. I give you an example. In general, reference letters, there need to be the email address of the institution on the reference letter. If somebody says, I'm Professor this and that, and then it says professorbarbaro@gmail.com, no. Why? Because they need to be able to track that this person actually works at that university, and their Gmail account, Hotmail accounts cannot be. So that's for instance a detail that a reference letter can be thrown out, and you think you have everything perfectly in order. Then StudyLink account, so that's this Dutch portal. Normally for 80% of 90% of the students I do it. I create it for them, and there we also select the programs that you want to apply to. Then collect the rest of the documents that you need. Very often at the beginning not everything is there, but we need to collect everything, of course. Apply directly with the university, receive offers, and then we come in the final stage, accommodation, sort out the last details of funds, and apply for the visa. Visa, when it comes to the UK, you have to do your visa yourself. Innova helps you with that. When it comes to Holland, the process is completely different. Once the university has admitted you and has said everything is okay, then they arrange your visa. So we have no worries about it, and normally you're always admitted because the university has already said yes. So it's a very different system from the United Kingdom. Innova Education will get you from here, application form, to packing your bags, to there. Many masters are, when it comes to this, thumbs up. So I mentioned the undergraduate, realize that many master degrees are 1 year, the non-technical ones. If you are more technical, medicine, engineering, very often the specializations are 2 years before you get to this point. There's also some dual degrees there. There's also some courses of 18 months, so it differs. So it is between 1 and 2 years in the end. About us, since 1996, always important to explain why are we doing this. We are a company that has been doing this a long time. We have Dutch-speaking staff members, of course, but the main thing is that to realize is that for you as a student, you can work with us without any risk, any obligation. Why? Because the university is paid. So it is very simple. Once we send students, we help students to get there, and once the student arrives, then we get paid for the service that we gave. So we literally work for the universities, although we are helping you. So that is why for you there is no cost or obligation. We help to take the hassle out of the progress, and the idea is that's why the university hire us to enhance your chances to get there, not to check the documents, make sure everything is okay. Success stories, if you go to our website, you will find a lot of students who have been working with us. We've been doing this for over 25 years. In all honesty, however, with Holland, we've only been working with Holland for a year. So the process is a little bit different from the UK, but the experience that we have, the 25 years, has always been United Kingdom, and Holland is new. Holland is really upcoming. There's quite a bit of interest, and we thought it was very nice to also add some universities on the mainland. Here you see our team, just to give you an idea that there's more team members there. We have somebody, Deborah over here, who is completely, I'll just show it for the people in the office. Deborah over here is specialist also in foundation and undergraduates. She is also talking a lot to the parents. This is our general director, Eric. He lives in Sheffield. This is where Innova got started. He's married to a Mexican lady. And since he worked for the University of Sheffield, he got more and more questions privately from Mexicans because, well, he worked there now. And that's sort of how the company started. So we have study advisors. Andrew just works for the University of Sheffield, and we have general study advisors. But when it comes to the Dutch process, that is just me. We have 5 universities, and in the UK we have 25. So there's a difference there. Our main market is the UK, and Holland is something that we do extra but since not that long ago. Okay, I think I forgot to mention one thing in the presentation, orientation year. Did I speak about that? Don't think so, no. When you go and study in Holland, you get a visa. You get a visa for the period of your studies. So you apply. If you apply for undergraduate of 3 years, you get your visa for 3 years. If you apply for a master of 2, you get your visa for 2. However, what is very nice, after that, you can stay for another year. So once your visa, once you are finished with your studies, you can simply extend your visa for another year. They call it orientation year. So that literally means that people who studied in Holland, they can look around if they want to do something else, and they can look for work. You can do whatever you want during that year, and it gives a little bit of extra time to simply look for a job for people who might be interested to stay in Holland or in Europe for a longer period of time. When it comes to the scholarships, however, it is important to realize orientation year is nice, but not for the common seat students, because they're supposed to come back and work then in Mexico, no, for a certain amount of time. Okay, let me see if there's any questions. Any questions here in the office?
Hi, Jack. I have a question. I don't know if it's possible to you to help me.
Yes.
Okay. It's just that I already applied for 4 universities in Estudia link. Actually, you helped me, but I didn't see how well are the scholarships at the University of Twente. So my question is it possible for me to apply to University of Twente even though I already applied for the 4 universities? Yes. Maybe I can cancel one, yes?
Yes, it is. When it comes to the scholarship, the sound isn't 100%. Sorry that the sound is not good. With the video, it was the same. When it comes to the university scholarships, it's important to realize that in Holland, normally first you apply with the university. So you are already in their application process.
Mm-hmm. So there is possibility for me to do it.
Oh. Okay, well, it's too late now. I'm done. Yes. So yes, there is this possibility. If you look at Twente and in Amsterdam, it's exactly the same. First you apply with the university, and as soon as you do that, then opens within the application of the university the possibility to apply for a scholarship over there. So okay. It is actually the normal order to first apply with the university, and after that
for the scholarship.
You go to the scholarship.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Then I see here a question. I'm confused as to why the dates on the application deadlines are in April and May of 2019, as that would mean they have already passed. Thanks. Okay. Yes, that is I did not realize that. That is my mistake. It is 2020. So the deadlines every year are the same. 1st of May and 1st of April. I just completely forgot to change that in my presentation. I'm sorry. I have already applied for other universities studying, but after I have seen about the scholarships in Twente, is there a possibility for me to apply even though I've already applied for 4 universities? Yes and no. So Raquel, this is your question. You can apply only for 4. If you like Twente and you like the scholarships over there, that simply means that you can cancel. So you can cancel one of the programs that you have at the moment, and that opens the opportunity to add another one. And you would not be the first one to do that because people sometimes change their mind. I've done it recently. So you can only add Twente after you cancel another one, but then there's no problem.
Thank you, Jack.
The recommendation letters can be completely digital. Well, normally they do need to be signed. No? So the recommendation letter is on the letterhead of the institution. All the contact information is there as well, why they recommend you, what is their relationship to you, how they know that you would be a good candidate, and normally it will be signed with a pen, and then normally a PDF is made of that document. So it can be completely digital as long as that there's then also some kind of a digital signature on it. Okay. Groningen, the Orange Tulip Scholarship. This is Jimena who asked this question. There is one available from the University of Medicine, which is for the program Innovative Medicine, Drug Innovation. And then there is 2 more available. Last year there were, so I assume it will be the same this year, from the Faculty of Arts in Groningen. Unfortunately, the other faculties do not have the orange tulip. Is it possible to have a personal assessment date in Innova offices? Yes, it is. So I speak to many students one-on-one. Apart from being in contact via WhatsApp and email, there's also Skype. And then here in the office, I have personal sessions, also to check documents, etc. And I normally send links for Calendly, it is called, so you can book an appointment straight into my calendar. Then Ricardo is asking if I don't have my diploma yet, still apply to the different programs, or an official letter can compensate temporary meanwhile while the public is emitted and translated. Yes, exactly. When it comes to study link, I use very often temporary documents that are there, so the most recent ones that are available. And then when it comes to the university, you simply can say that you don't have it yet. In StudyLink, the first question in StudyLink when it comes to previous education is, did you already finish? And that is also mentioned to the institution, so they are aware if you're still studying or if your degree certificate should be available already. So there is no problem to do that later. The only thing that is important to realize is that if you do not have your degree certificate or your English test, then you get conditionally accepted. So you can get a positive answer in 2 ways: conditionally or unconditionally. If it is conditionally, then they will say you are accepted, but we're waiting for your English test, or but we're waiting for your degree. And unconditional normally is better for scholarships, and especially when it comes to, for instance, applying here in Mexico to CONACYT, then you really need your offer letter. No? So then it is important that you have that in your hands. The description of relevant courses must be translated by an official translator? No, not at all. And this is a document that does not need to be translated officially. It is even, like I said, sometimes made by students themselves based on a Spanish document. So they translate it themselves, they make it themselves. It is really mainly for people from the faculty, so they can see that the background in the courses is sufficient. It's for later in the process, but it is definitely, you do not need an official translator, no. Jimena, if I want to apply to 3 different master programs in Groningen University, do I need to pay 3 times for the application process? It is enough to pay just once. Yes. Then Luis, I already apostilled my bachelor degree. Do I need to get a copy of that certificate, or is it enough to scan the original one? For the moment, for now, for your application, it is enough to scan the original one. Later, at a later date, once you are admitted, etc., then you need to send the original. Questions here?
I have a few.
Tell me.
Hi, I'm Diego.
Hi, Diego.
Regarding the recommendation letter, translated?
English. Recommendation letter is in
English. If I have it in Spanish, do I need to send it with like an official translator?
Yeah. So officially, they should be in English, yes, directly. But I already know that normally there will be no problem if you have it translated by an official translator. Of course, you need to spend a little bit of extra money on it. It is possible. Yes. With the UK universities, that is a little bit different, but in Holland, yes, that is a possibility.
Okay. What about the date of the recommendation letter? Because I have one from last year when I applied originally. Is it a problem? Do I need to have it like
last year is still okay. If it would be 3-4 years old, then it can be. It depends a little bit. So if you look at the academic one, yes, it is very well possible that people who are already working for 4 years, that they have a letter that's a little bit older, and everybody will accept it. But then they will really like to see, let's say, a current one from where you are working.
Okay. Regarding the translation of other documents, is it really that necessary for supporting documents? Namely, some courses I've taken, like some auditing classes that are not included in my.
So normally the translations need to be for your degree certificate, yes, and then of course the list with all your with everything that you took and GP and the grades of that. Yes. So if you have something that you want them to consider,
yes,
and it is in Spanish, then it will need to be translated
by an official translator.
By an official translator.
Okay.
Yes, and but please send it to me first so we can check together if it indeed is an official document that could be of use and it is worthwhile to translate, yes or no.
Okay. Another that I have is the course description. I had to do it by hand because there was the University of Groningen gives you a course description depending on the masters, and I had to like translate every single course description that there was on my program to the letter, and I'm not sure if I did it correctly. Maybe I can send it to you to check if everything's okay.
Definitely.
If something's missing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so. But yes, so you're not the first one who had to do that. Yes, I know.
But the translation that I did, could it be okay if I check it with you and you say it's okay? Then it needs not be translated by.
It needs not. No, it is. They really just ask for a document in English with a description of the courses.
Okay.
So they like it best if it is an official document from university. But I've already seen. I don't get them here. So I have no student with that official document that they would like to see. So everybody has these PDFs that I just showed you, and you just cannot see that it is an official document anyway. So then also the official translation does not really apply anymore, no? Because it's not really an official document.
Right.
Very often people, universities who do give it, it is a document that comes from their online. That is something that's copied from online. And then, like I said, people are translating it themselves as well. So no official translation needed.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. When it comes to translation of an official degree, let me just mention this detail to everybody. If there's something on the back that needs to be translated as well.
Yes. Well, yeah. The official translator usually does that. I think.
But if there's something on the original document, if there's something on the back there, then that needs to be translated as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Then could you please show again the Vrije University? Yes, I can. And then that is this one. And then people said there was a problem with so let me just try again to make sure it works. So the VU Fellowship Program is the first one and the most important one. Master the tuition fee. And then next to that, they have the Holland Scholarship Program for 5,000. And you can apply to these universities in the university portal after you have first applied with the university. After that, you can immediately apply for this one as well. And the deadline is the 1st of February, but I always tell everybody it's very important to be early, because if the people who look at these scholarships can choose between somebody who already has an offer and between somebody who just applied and they don't know yet what's going to be the result, then of course the one with the offer has a higher chance. No? So the earlier you are, the better it is. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much here in the office and also people online for attending. We made a video of the presentation, so we will also put it on our Facebook page and on our website for people who want to see it again or later, especially certain information about the scholarships, etc. And of course, as you are aware, you can always contact me at any time with any further questions. A lot of the contact I have with the students is via WhatsApp. You are younger than I am, so you are very much aware that how that goes now. Sometimes people even send me documents through WhatsApp. I do like to mention that documents, etc., and more of official communication, I do rather do it via email, but there's a lot of communication via WhatsApp as well. So any small question that you have, no problem, you can simply send me a WhatsApp. Thank you everybody for attending, and well, I hope to hear from you in the process. Thank you. Sorry? Yes.